Well, good morning, fellow constitutionalists, and welcome to the Dan Clements Show, Christian political talk show. I'm your host, Dan Clements, your constitutional warrior fighting for your right just to be an American. It is July 27th, the year of our Lord 2024. Remember, we're a hyphen-free, PC-free zone. God is in control, and He does love you. And I'm broadcasting from the Hemlock Studios here in the beautiful central Susquehanna Valley in the great Keystone State. And I have, I think it's pretty good video here today. We're going to be talking about the Democrats' concerns about the assault weapons, the military-style assault weapons that seem to be so prolific, and we need to get rid of them. If we didn't have them, we wouldn't have all these murders here in the United States. Is that true? I mean, we heard that during the I think every hearing I heard this past week. The Democrats harped on this and harped on this and harped on this. And can I say something? Let me put a caveat on this. I'm not wanting to assassinate anybody at all. It's not my way. It doesn't even enter my thought patterns. But if I was going to be a sniper and want to get rid of a political opponent using a rifle, it wouldn't be an Armalite Rifle 15. It wouldn't be. Are they accurate? Yes. Can they kill people? Yes. But I want something that I can reach out. First off, I don't want to be anywhere close to the target if I'm going to do this. And I'm going to have a weapon that I can reach out upwards of 500 yards or better. I'm just saying. I know that's a long shot. I like rifles that I have a British 303 that I sporterized, have a decent scope on it, and I can bullseye at 300 yards. And I know I can go even further than that, but the range I'm at is limited to 300 yards. Eventually, I'd like to get on a longer range and see what I can do. But having said that, it's a bolt-action rifle. Most of your snipers, I don't care what service they're in, Secret Service, FBI, SWAT, most of your snipers have bolt-action rifles. One, very accurate. The bolt action is one of the most accurate rifles you can get. Two, they're made for accuracy, just the way they're built. AR-15s, yes, they can be accurate, but they're not made like a bolt action rifle with a long barrel on it for extreme accuracy. And you know, you're talking to a novice here. I was in a rifle platoon in the Army National Guard. We were trained on certain things. I was a backup sniper for our platoon, but even our snipers in our platoon, we still used the AR-16s as our platforms. We had some, I think, I'm not sure. I know we had some M14s that had the regular rifle stocks on them. They're semi-automatic, and I know the company snipers had those, but I don't think we had them at platoon level. But anyway, bolt action would be the way to go. But they're harping on these, and this is something that is totally researchable, and you can know this. I've heard so many politicians on the left and the right say that AR stands for assault rifle. It does not stand for assault rifle. It stands for Armalite, the company that originally designed it. Armalite rifles. Okay? AR-16 is a weapon of war because you can go fully automatic with it. AR-15, you'd be foolish to try to take that into war because it's only a semi-automatic. And anybody worth their salt will tell you that. The AR-15 is not a weapon of war. Is it a serious weapon? It absolutely is. For self-defense, it's almost unparalleled, except in close quarters where a shotgun would be better, or even a pistol would be better. But and some people argue the point with you about that. But we're talking about opinions here, so they're Opinions like armpits. Everybody has multiple armpits and they stink just as bad. Anyway, I have this article here from the Foundation for Economic Education. It's written by a person that wants to remain anonymous, being classically liberal is his nom de plume. Okay, and he wrote this in 2019. FBI numbers don't come out as quick as we would like, okay? But this is just a good example of the hysteria on the left and how they lie about the facts that are so searchable that you can find these things out. And I'm just going to read through the article. I'm not going to read it all verbatim, but let me get it over here on the screen for you so you can just sort of follow along with me as I read it. It's from Parkland, Florida, and I lost some friends on Facebook over Parkland, but that's a whole nother story. I did videos on that a long time, a couple of years ago when it happened. To San Bernardino, California, the semi-automatic AR-15 rifle and its variants have seemingly become the weapon of choice for mass shooters in the United States. Many people simply cannot believe that regular civilians should be able to legally own so-called weapons of war, which they believe should only be in the hands of the military. According to Pew Research, for example, 81% of Democrats and even 50% of Republicans believe the federal government should ban assault-style rifles like the AR-15, given the massive amount of carnage AR-15s and similar rifles have caused. It makes sense that the civilian population simply cannot be trusted to own these weapons, right? I want to stop the reading there. I have one. I have an AR-15 that me and my son put together. It's legal. It has never, on its own, and even in my position, I haven't killed anybody with it. I've killed a lot of targets with it. But on its own, it has not gone out and committed a mass shooting. And I just want to put that out there. I've never caught any of my weapons I have committing a felony by themselves. Now, I've never committed a felony with them either. But my point is, it takes a person behind the tool in order for the tool to be used, okay? I just want to put that out there because the left, they don't want to look at that. They don't want to see that. And I'll show you what I'm talking about here as we go down through the article. Perhaps it is, but is it really true the AR-15, a popular firearm owned by millions of Americans, is a unique threat to public safety, so dangerous that it deserves to be banned or even confiscated by the federal government? I cannot emphasize enough that any homicide is a tragedy, but in order to get a sense of how dangerous to public safety assault-style rifles are, it's useful to compare their usage in homicides to other methods. Now, he goes through a little section here about the data and methodology. He used the two of the most used ones are the CDC and the FBI stats. They both have their pros and cons, okay? And they both, I want to sort of skip down here. He says, the FBI reports do not look at assault-style weapons specifically, but rather murders involving all types of rifles, which they are recommended, or they are, whether they are committed with AR-15s or a hunting rifle. Between 2007 and 2017, nearly 1,700, that's a 10-year period, folks, nearly 1,700 people were murdered with a knife or sharp-edged object per year, 1,700 per year. That's almost 4 times the number of people murdered by an assailant with any sort of rifle. Secondly, each year, there are a few thousand homicide cases, which are cases where the types of firearms used goes unreported to the FBI. This means that some murders listed under unknown firearm may in fact be rifle murders. To account for this underreporting, we will extrapolate from the rifles share of firearm murders where the type of weapon is known in order to estimate that the numbers of unknown firearms that were in actuality rifle homicides. Okay, how many murders involve rifles like the AR-15? If we take a look, or if we take time to look at raw data provided by the FBI, we find that all rifles, not just assault rifles, constituted an average of 340 homicides per year from 2007 to 2017. When we adjust these numbers to take underreporting into account, the number rises to an average of 439. Okay. Figure 2 compares rifle homicides to homicides with other non-firearm weapons. Believe it or not, between 2007 and 2017, nearly 1,700 people were murdered with a knife or sharp object per year. That's almost 4 times the number of people murdered by an assailant with any sort of rifle. And this is the first graph that shows the rifles, share of homicides and adjusted, and goes on. The next graph that's coming up here is homicide. The blue line is rifle homicides, which are between 400 and 600. Knives and sharp objects are run anywhere between 1,600 and 18, or almost 1,900 at one point back in 2008. Blunt instruments is in the gray. They're actually higher than the rifles for the most part throughout the whole time. Blunt, like hammers, folks. And then hand and feet are actually higher than that, than rifles and that. So we're going to start outlawing hands and feet, blunt objects. We're going to start, like Britain, outlawing knives. There has to be some type of perspective that we need to bring to this argument, okay? In any given year, for every person murdered with a rifle, there are 15 murdered with handguns, 1.7 with hands or fists, and 1.2 with blunt instruments. In fact, homicides with any sort of rifle represent a mere 3.2% of all homicides on average over the past decade. We're talking 2007, 2017. So for every person murdered with a rifle, there are 15 murdered with handguns. And this is what they won't talk about this. Matter of fact, a lot of the progressive liberals that want to do away with the Second Amendment or severely curtail it will not look at like gang shootings, which the vast majority of gang shootings involve pistols. Not all of them, but the vast majority of them involve pistols. And there you have it. 15, for every one rifle, 15 are killed with handguns. All right. Given the FBI statistics pertain to all rifles and homicides frequently of assault style rifles like the AR-15 is necessarily lesser still, as such firearms compose a fraction of all the rifles used in crimes. When the average of 13,635 homicides per year during 2007 to 2017 time frame, about 0.1% of homicides were produced by mass shootings involving an AR-15. And he goes on. You can read it. I have the link in my show notes. You can go on to read this even more, folks. I can't stress this enough. The facts of the matter are that the AR-15 is not the most prolific weapon when it comes to mass shootings or homicides, period. Handguns are 15 times more prevalent in homicides. All right? Sharp objects are more than the rifles. Okay? Hands and feet are more than the rifles. People are killed more often with other things other than rifles. And that's the facts. But to Democrats, to the liberal progressives, the revolutionary left out there, facts don't matter. They want to folks are a bunch of megalomaniacs. They just want to rule over people whether you want them to or not. And one of the things, and they will never admit to this, because if they do, then it's a weakness in their argument. They'll never admit to this, but they cannot rule America the way they want to with an armed populace. It is just not going to happen. There's no way that they can. And as far as Joe Biden, he doesn't have a military cell in his whole brain to understand what guerrilla warfare is, to understand how a revolutionary force during the Revolutionary War of colonials could take on the world power of the day and their military with non-conventional tactics. I mean, you just read through the books of history, folks. You know, there's all sorts of histories out there where a smaller force took on a larger force and won. And it was all due to tactics. It was all due to tactics. And I don't want to see a civil war. I don't want to see us fighting our military. And that's another story in and of itself. You know, how many of our military are going to take on that unlawful order of firing on civilians that are just protecting themselves against a tyrannical government? You know, I think the revolutionary left overvalues their stance, overvalues their position on this whole thing. They just have. And it just amazes me how many people out there just drink the Kool-Aid of the left, and especially the lamestream media, when it comes to firearms. It's ridiculous, folks. And the Second Amendment is pretty clear: shall not be infringed. You know, we have a right, we have a natural right of self-defense, self-preservation, that no politician has a right to curtail or take out of our hands. Back when the Second Amendment was written, there were military-style rifles. You know, they weren't just hunting rifles. They were made for war. They were very accurate, very easy to handle, to clean. They're like the cream of the crop. And yet our government felt that it was okay for the people back then to own them. A military-style rifle. Oh. And it's, like I said, the whole argument is just ridiculous. And again, the whole argument from the revolutionary left is made for the weak-minded, the low information, useful idiots out there. It really is. And, you know, I got some neighbors that do not like rifles and stuff like that, but you know what? You know what's going to happen if the balloon goes up and the foo-foo hits the fan? Who are they going to turn to for protection? No, I'm serious. Who are they going to turn to for protection? The police won't be able to protect them. They'll be too busy doing other stuff. The military won't be able to protect them because the military may be the ones coming after them. Who's going to protect them? Who's going to help defend them? You know, asking simple questions like this makes people think. Now, whether it changes their mind or not, I don't know, but it makes them think. And as far as I'm concerned, if you didn't like weapons before, then, you know, I can't help you afterwards. You know, it'd be kind of hypocritical for me to help you because you don't like what I have. Wouldn't it? I'm just putting it out there, folks. I would help them, but I'm just putting that argument out there because it shows the absurdity of their position. Well, folks, this has been the Dan Clements Show. I'm your host, Dan Clements, your Constitution warrior. Remember, if you aim at nothing, you hit it every time. We'll see you again on the next video.